Welcome back, Bantwana Benkosi, to Power Talk. This is Mbuyiseni Ndlozi. I'm joined by the editor of Swaziland News, Mr. Zweli Dlamini, here in studio. Thanks very much for coming through, my man, and welcome to Power Talk.
Thank you. Thank you for having me, Mr. Ndlozi.
Is it still Swaziland News, not Eswatini News?
It's Swaziland News,
Swaziland News.
Yeah, thank you.
I'm also joined on the line through a phone call by Lucky Lukele of Swaziland Solidarity Network, the spokesperson. Thanks very much for joining us, Lucky, and welcome to Power Talk.
Yes, thank you very much, Mr. Ndlozi. I still call you Commissar, and good morning to Mr. Dlamini, and thank you for having us.
Thanks indeed. And through Teams, Professor Lauren Landau, South African Research Chair in Human Mobility and the Politics of Difference, and the Director of the African Center for Migration and Society. Thanks very much, Prof. Welcome to Power Talk.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be with you.
Let me start with you, Zweli. Are there any images of the arrival of these hardened criminals from the U.S.?
Thank you, Mr. Ndlozi. The story is still developing in the Kingdom of Eswatini. In fact, it is somehow creating some security instability. You will understand that these criminals arrived last week from the United States, and of course they were rejected by their respective countries. But Eswatini welcomed them. We were still investigating the contents of the agreement that resulted to these deportations. So the story is still developing, and of course it was discussed even in Parliament. As you understand that in Eswatini is an absolute monarchy, so it was a secret deal. Even Parliament was not aware.
It was a secret deal between the king and the US, or the prime minister. Who on the part of Eswatini facilitated the deal?
At the center of this deal, Mr. Ndlozi, is the Prime Minister of the Kingdom of Eswatini, Mr. Russell Dlamini. But as I've just mentioned, the Eswatini is an absolute monarchy. So the Prime Minister wouldn't have signed this deal without informing the King. So somehow, or by extension, the King is directly or indirectly involved in facilitating this deal.
And what does it entail, the deal? Does Eswatini get some amount of money? What's in it for Eswatini in your reading?
The information is emerging in pieces. The Prime Minister addressed a press conference, I think last week, where he confirmed the arrival of these criminals. And they did mention, when questioned by members of Parliament, that the United States is paying for the arrival of these criminals. In fact, he said the Kingdom of Eswatini won't foot the bill after the arrival of these criminals. But we're suspecting that it's either there was a political bargaining, or in fact there was somehow brown envelope or payment involved, because the Eswatini government is a secretive regime. Everything of such nature is normally discussed behind the scenes. So I think there's somehow a payment involved, but it's a subject of investigation, Mr. Ndlozi.
And social unrest, is there a sense of that there might be demonstrations or protests? What have been the general civilian response, the general population, the general public?
And I think it's last week, the criminals arrived on Wednesday. The following day, on Thursday, a coalition of women rights organizations marched to the United States Embassy to deliver a petition calling for the recall of these deportees. But in the political context, Mr. Ndlozi, you need to understand that Eswatini is an absolute monarchy where political demonstrations and protests are restricted, and the Public Order Act is normally used to crack down on dissent. So in Eswatini, it's very difficult to see a protest. Normally the police use force. Sometimes they shoot and kill protesters. As you are aware that in 2021 We lost dozens of Eswatini were protesting, merely demanding for democracy. But in this regard, the protest that we witnessed so far is that of women's rights organization. There was another protest that was being planned by political parties. Political parties are banned in Eswatini, but they normally try to organize such protests under a banner of what is known as concerned citizens. So there was another protest that was being planned, but I think 2 days ago it was cancelled. They said they need to re-strategize because the police were trying to investigate those who were behind this protest and try to arrest them.
Babu Lukele, what is the Solidarity Network's position on this collaboration with the U.S. regarding hardened criminals?
Well, thank you very much to Zweli also for giving us the beautiful background from an independent point of view. But what we can add is that besides being shocked to the bone, again, we were not surprised because the mental development of the king, that on its own, it proves that the capacity to sign and even to agree to such a deal. Then again, you have Donald Trump on that other side, an extremist, someone that you will find him entertaining people on wrestling and stuff like that. It tells you that if the American people can entrust such a person who thinks that South Africans, whites who have failed, they are good enough to be accommodated in America and lied to say there was genocide. Yet, the very same Donald Trump, he cannot accommodate criminals that have committed crimes in America, but he sees an African country like Swaziland as a dumping ground. We reject this thing. It is an insult to the core, not only to the people of Swaziland, but to the people of Africa as a whole. Secondly, what is happening here is that the king is at the center of it. I can tell you now that there has been an attempt over the weekend to spin the king out of this mess, in a sense that now they are saying the Attorney General was not aware of this signing deal with the Prime Minister. They want to shift it to the Prime Minister because it is easier for the king to fire the Prime Minister and then put all the blame on him. Yet we all know that when the Prime Minister is removed from the position, there is a javelin ready for him to pick up on the other side in one of the King's advisory board or even in an ambassadorial position. Thirdly, there is an issue of the Russian in Swaziland. And I don't know what President Vladimir Putin, what was he thinking, to think that King Mswati has the same capacity as Ibrahim Traore of Burkina Faso and the Niger and Mali. Yet he is there. King Mswati is a good friend of the Taiwanese and a good friend of the Americans. So the Americans, what they are doing now, they are telling Putin to say, get yourself out of here. This man is our personal friend, to prove that we are giving him criminals and he's going to agree. And there's one information that is coming that this could have been a dry run. More criminals are coming the Swaziland way.
Okay. Prof, just maybe for the sake of everybody, under what conditions are such deals made? And what is the United States point? Why take prisoners to a different country when the countries of origin reject them? What's the logic here, as it were? Professor Landau? I think... hello, Prof, can you hear us?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yeah, now we can hear you. I don't know if you heard my question.
I did, yes. I think we have to look inwardly, but into the United States to understand what is going on here. So yes, there might be a Russia connection. There might even be a particular interest in an African country. And of course, Eswatini is not the only one who is on the other end of these deportations. But this is really an important thing for Donald Trump to do domestically, because it shows that he's getting rid of people that he determines are not right for the United States. As one of the guests mentioned, he says he can welcome a certain type of people from outside and white Afrikaner refugees, and he can send away people, dark, brown, black, yellow, whatever people that he doesn't like overseas. And it also shows that he is a boss internationally. That he can get these small countries to do his bidding, to do this distasteful work. So in the same way as in the past, the United States has exported its nuclear waste, its electronic waste to countries in West Africa, Ghana, etc., to be recycled, to be dealt with far away. This is the same kind of logic. He's trying to get rid of this so that somebody else can do his dirty work, and he will look like he's cleaning up the United States. Of course, this is illegal even within the U.S. It should be illegal in Eswatini, and certainly Saddaks should be protesting it with all of its might.
And is it possible that Swaziland does it to get some money? What interest? What do they stand to gain by cooperating with the United States in this way?
Well, your other guests might be better suited to answer that, but my sense is that with the cuts from USAID particularly, and the NIH and other kind of health support, the threatened cuts to PEPFAR, Eswatini was a huge beneficiary of those cuts, of those funds, right? And so their health department, a lot of their infrastructure was being supported by international aid. Not all of it from the US, of course, but a good chunk. And so this might be a way to find their way back into the good graces of the United States. The terms of the deals, as we've heard, are secret. We don't know what they're getting. We don't know what the king or the prime minister are getting for the country or personally. But clearly, there's a reason that they do this. They don't do it from a position of strength. They do it from a position of needing that external support.
And for the United States now, I suppose, I mean, this is one of the questions that is possibly in everyone's mind. If the country of origin refuses to take a person back, doesn't the U.S. have the option, for instance, of applying, since these are hardened criminals? I don't believe in this question, but is there no option in U.S. law for the death sentence?
It's unclear to me what these people have been convicted of. Right? The death sentence at a federal level is really for the most extraordinary crimes, for treason, for something like. And my guess is these people are not that. They may have crimes because they've overstayed visas. They may be involved in trafficking of drugs. Who knows? It's unlikely that these would face the death penalty, but to say they can be prosecuted under U.S. law. And that is what should have happened. Even if they're in the country illegally, if the country of origin doesn't want them back, they should be prosecuted like regular criminals and kept in jail, kept away from American citizens, as any other criminal would be.
Yeah, because the U.S. holds very hardened criminals. Guantanamo Bay is a perfect example of, their project, as it were, to hold people in incarceration that they believe they've got the right since they've offended American communities and American society. In this case, is it really boiling down to political expediency on the part of Trump? Nothing else.
As I said before, I think this is largely an effort to show to his base that he is doing something to, quote, clean up America. I don't believe that that's what he's doing, of course, but this is a message to his base. The number of people he's going to be able to send through these deals, which are extraordinarily expensive from what I understand, the number of people that he's going to be able to send is going to be small compared to the number of people he wants to deport. So we have to look at this as a symbolic game. It's an effort to show his power. It's an effort to get attention. It's an effort to show his base that he's the man in charge.
Okay, and Babu Dlamini, Saddak's response. any luck in sourcing the sort of response of the region, whether the states, the different political maneuverings between states? What has been the response to Swaziland's decision to collaborate or cooperate with the US in this way from SADC?
Thank you, Mr. Ndlozi. I think at this juncture, the matter is still playing out in the media space within the region, and it's creating a debate whether it is right or wrong. But I believe when analyzing the public discourse, it's creating panic within the region. Citizens of Saddак countries are panicking because these criminals might escape and cause havoc to the neighboring countries, particularly South Africa. But my sources within some Saddак corridors of power, this matter might escalate to a point whereby they are suggesting that this matter might even discussed at the SADC level. But you will need to understand the influence of the United States at SADC. SADC is also a compromise because strategically, when you analyze the political landscape in South Africa, whereby the United States is currently trying to suffocate South Africa, Eswatini somehow is being placed as a strategic partner. You know, the United States normally have what is known as strategic partners. So Eswatini might be now being positioned as a strategic partner of the United States, whereby the United States will be able to control and monitor the SADC region due to the deteriorating diplomatic relations between South Africa and the United States. So we might not be aware or maybe sure whether SADC will be able to impartially debate this matter and reach to its political conclusion.
And maybe, Mr. Lukele, the prison conditions then in Eswatini, does Eswatini have a proper prison system to keep these people in a highly secured facility with no risk of escape? How do you rate the prison conditions?
Well, the Swazi prisons are fair. I would say they're quite fair in a way, but they were only designed for people that have committed minor crimes. For instance, people that are overpopulating the prison are your minor crimes, that shoplifting, rape, and for instance, of course, rape is a serious crime.
Yeah.
Hunting, for instance, I wanted to say hunting, those that find themselves being arrested for hunting, mainly to eat. So now our biggest worry is that those people, because criminals or prisons are meant to correct. Now having these barbarians that are now there, these Trump's friends that are now in Swaziland, if they happen to cross path with those criminals or those Swazis that are already finishing their sentences or at the door of it, they may actually even learn one or two tricks from these ones, because these ones are experts of crime, from drugs to rape to murder, on all kinds of things. One of them, for instance, my biggest worry is that he raped a minor. Now this guy was sentenced to 20 years. The question that many people miss is that how long has this person served already his sentence in America? Because we all know South Swaziland and South Africa uses almost similar system. A year in prison, let's say we are sentenced to a year. Effectively, it means you'll serve 8 months. Now, if this person has already served 10 years in America and now is in Swaziland, clearly this person will be out in 2 years. And who is next? It is the people of Swaziland, it is the people of South Africa, Mozambique, and the entire Africa continent, because as Trump government has stated himself that these criminals are so uniquely barbaric such that their own countries of origin have refused them. Yet, in a gangster deal with his friend King Mswati, they were able to sign and agree that no, you will be the dumping ground for America, and more are coming, and as we've been alerted already.
My final question is to you, Prof, with regards precisely to the last statement by Mr. Lukele, that in an instance where the prison sentences end, what happens normally? Do they get released in Swaziland? Does Swaziland have the right to hold them in terms of both international law and domestic law indefinitely, even at the point of their release, that they should be released not in Swaziland, but to their countries or to a country like the United States? What happens if their sentences end?
This is a very good question, and it will be up to the Swazi justice system. I don't think international law would have regulations on this, as the deportations themselves were illegal. Even them being held in itself is undoubtedly questionable. I think so. It will be up to Swaziland or Eswatini to decide what it does with these people. My understanding of these deals, like many of these other deals globally, is that they're really intended as temporary fixes. People are meant to be held there until they can be sent back to where they're from originally, or some other longer term solution can be dealt with. But as far as the US is concerned, once they're gone, they probably don't care. And I think it will be up to the people of Eswatini.
Do we not have any historical examples maybe as to what would have happened in other cases?
There are, of course, historical examples of people being deported and population exchanges and things along these lines. But I don't think we have precedent for this. We have situations where asylum seekers have been sent overseas. The Australians have done this to put them on islands waiting for their cases. But then it's a domestic process within Australia. If they're rejected, they are sent back home. This is a different kind of thing, and it's completely unclear who has authority over them, what will happen to them, or even what laws might apply.
Okay. That's Professor Lauren Landau. Thanks very much for joining us here on Power Talk and for creating time to speak to us.
Thank you.
And Zweli Dlamini, editor of Swaziland News, thanks deeply for creating time and coming to speak to us.
Thank you. Thank you for having me, Mr.
And Mr. Lucky Lukele, the spokesperson of the Swaziland Solidarity Network. Ngiyabonga kakhulu for speaking to us here on Power Talk.
Thank you very much for the opportunity, and thank you to the listeners.